They thought she was nobody, but she held all the power. They thought they could humiliate her, dismiss her, and push her aside. But what happens when the person they underestimated holds all the power? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The afternoon sun gleamed off the glass facade of Riverstone Bank's downtown branch, casting sharp angles of light across the lobby floor. Inside, the air hummed with quiet activity. The low murmur of conversations, the rhythmic beeping of scanners, the shuffle of feet moving forward in slow, measured steps. It was just another busy weekday, the line at the teller windows creeping along with methodical precision. Among the crowd was a woman who blended seamlessly into the scene. Dressed in a charcoal gray sweater, dark denim jeans, and worn-in flats, no one gave her a second glance. She stood with her weight evenly balanced, her expression calm, patient. Her name was Danielle Brooks, and this was her bank. Danielle rarely found time to visit the branches of Brooks Capital Management herself. Most days, her world revolved around conference calls, strategy sessions, and high-stakes negotiations from the sleek corner office that overlooked the city skyline. But today was different. She wanted to see for herself whether the values she'd carved into the DNA of her institution, fairness, equity, respect, were alive at ground level. She adjusted the strap of her leather handbag and glanced at the digital number board overhead. The line crawled forward. The older woman in front of her, hair a cloud of soft silver, a cane clutched loosely in one hand, approached the window when her number was called. She smiled as she greeted the teller, sliding over her ID and a withdrawal slip. The transaction was seamless. No questions, no hesitation. Within minutes, the woman had her cash in hand, thanking the teller with a grateful nod before slowly making her way out. Danielle noted the teller's name tag, Renee Calloway, and then it was Danielle's turn. She approached the window, offering a polite smile. "Good afternoon," she said, placing her ID and a slip on the counter. "I'd like to withdraw $5,000 from my personal account, please." Renee picked up Danielle's driver's license, her fingers pausing mid-motion as her eyes scanned the name. Danielle caught the subtle shift in her expression, a faint tightening around her mouth, a brief flicker of hesitation in her gaze. One moment, Renee said, her tone suddenly more formal. She examined the ID again, then looked up at Danielle with something that was no longer the easy friendliness she'd shown the previous customer. "You said 5,000?" Renee asked, tapping a few keys on her terminal. Danielle nodded, her expression serene. "Yes. Is that a problem?" Renee offered a tight-lipped smile, one that didn't quite reach her eyes. "It's just that for withdrawals over a certain threshold, we have to run additional verification steps. Bank policy." Danielle's gaze drifted to the customer at the next window. A man in an expensive suit had just received a large stack of cash and was stuffing it into his briefcase without so much as a raised eyebrow from his teller. "That gentleman didn't seem to have to go through any extra steps," Danielle remarked quietly, inclining her head toward him. Renee's fingers froze above the keyboard. "Different tellers have different procedures," she replied, though her tone lacked conviction. Danielle arched a brow. "Do they?" Before Renee could answer, another voice cut in, thick with authority but hollow of sincerity. "Is there an issue here?" Danielle turned to find a man in a sharp navy suit striding toward them. His name tag read Thomas Granger, branch manager. She recognized his name from performance reports, adequate numbers, but frequent minor complaints. Enough to raise concern, enough to warrant this visit. "No issue," Renee said quickly, just confirming some details. Granger didn't even acknowledge her. His sharp gaze remained fixed on Danielle. "Ma'am," he said, his tone heavy with condescension. "Do you have another form of ID?" Danielle inhaled slowly through her nose. I provided a valid form of identification. Is there a specific concern? Bank policy, he repeated smoothly. For larger withdrawals, we require multiple forms of ID to prevent fraud. Danielle let her gaze wander across the room again. No other customer appeared to be enduring the same scrutiny. You didn't require that from your last customer, she observed, keeping her voice measured. Granger's jaw tightened. Different circumstances. Silence stretched between them, thick and charged. Customers nearby shifted uncomfortably, sensing something was off. Some were already watching, their curiosity piqued by the sudden tension. Perhaps we should continue this conversation in my office, Granger suggested, his politeness brittle, a veneer over what he clearly believed to be control. Danielle tilted her head slightly. I'd be more comfortable if I were treated the same as every other customer here, she said quietly. Granger's lips thinned. He turned back to Renee. Did you check for account flags? There aren't any, Renee admitted, sounding uncertain now. Ma'am, Granger persisted, we have strict policies in place. For whom exactly? Danielle asked, her voice cool. Another beat of silence. Then Granger straightened, his expression steeling. If you prefer, I can call corporate for authorization. Danielle met his gaze evenly. She could have ended this right there, pulled out her business card, revealed exactly who she was. But that wasn't the lesson she wanted to leave them with. Not yet. Feel free, she said, her tone light. Granger hesitated. Danielle pulled her phone from her bag, pressing a single number on speed dial. It rang once. Marcus Bell, a deep, assured voice answered. Danielle allowed herself a small smile. She made sure everyone nearby heard her reply. Marcus, I'm at the downtown Riverstone branch. They won't allow me to withdraw funds from my account. Could you look into that for me? Granger blanched. The name Marcus Bell hung in the air like a thunderclap. COO of Brooks Capital Management, one of the most powerful executives in the financial industry. The silence in the lobby was deafening. Marcus's voice remained calm, but edged with steel. Give me 5 minutes. Danielle ended the call and slid her phone back in her bag, her eyes never leaving Granger. Would you still like to call corporate? Granger swallowed hard, glancing at Renee, who looked ready to bolt from her chair. His facade crumbled with each passing second. This isn't personal, he tried, his voice tight. It's just policy. Danielle nodded slowly. I'm sure the customers watching believe that. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Granger's composure faltered. But before he could retreat further, the glass doors opened. A uniformed officer stepped inside. Officer Brett Langston was broad-shouldered, his stride purposeful. His gaze swept over the room, landing on Granger first. Someone reported a disturbance? He asked. Relief flickered across Granger's face. Yes, officer. We have a situation. Danielle raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. This customer, Granger continued, gesturing to Danielle, attempted to make a large withdrawal. We asked for additional verification, but she's been uncooperative. Officer Langston's gaze shifted to Danielle. His stance subtly shifted, aligning with Granger. If the branch manager's asking for verification, I'd suggest complying, Langston said, his tone neutral but firm. Danielle let out a quiet breath of disbelief. She had complied, fully, yet here they were. But the moment was interrupted as the doors opened again. This time it was Marcus Bell. He entered like he owned the air itself, his presence commanding. His tailored suit was immaculate, his expression carved from stone. He glanced at Danielle, gave the smallest nod, then turned his attention to Granger. What's going on here? Marcus's voice was low but carried. Granger's mouth opened, then closed. Mr. Bell, I was following protocol. Marcus cut him off. Do you realize you've been refusing service to the CEO of this institution? Granger paled. CEO? Danielle straightened. watching him. She hadn't needed to speak. Marcus had said enough. You didn't know who she was? Marcus pressed. Did you ask? Granger said nothing. Marcus turned to Officer Langston. You were brought here for what exactly? A woman trying to access her own account? Langston's jaw tightened. I wasn't informed, but you were ready to act without understanding the situation. Marcus's disappointment was tangible. Danielle finally spoke. Officer Langston, if I hadn't made that call, would you have believed me? The question hung in the air. Langston's gaze dropped. Granger's shoulders slumped. He was defeated, and he knew it. You're done here, Thomas, Marcus said flatly. Wait, Granger stammered. Danielle shook her head. Save it. Collect your things. As Granger stood there, gutted, Danielle turned to Renee. Why didn't you say anything? Renee flushed, her hands trembling. I was afraid. Danielle studied her. Fear is powerful. She paused. But we're instituting mandatory bias training, starting immediately. And you'll have the chance to enroll in leadership development if you choose. Understand this, though. If I hear of another customer treated the way I was today, there will be no second chances. Renee nodded quickly, tears brimming in her eyes. Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Danielle nodded back, her voice brisk. Now, I believe I have a withdrawal to make. Renee processed it swiftly, sliding the stack of cash across the counter with shaky hands. Danielle tucked it into her bag, turning to leave. As she passed Officer Langston, she met his gaze. Next time, ask a few more questions. He nodded silently. Outside, the air felt cooler, clearer. Marcus fell in a step beside her. You really know how to make a statement, he said. Danielle smiled faintly. It's not about statements. It's about making sure they remember. Inside, whispers still circled. Granger stood hollow, the wreckage of his career settling around him. Renee looked shaken but different, resolved. Think she'll take the opportunity? Marcus asked. Danielle nodded. I think she'll lead. People like her, they just need the moment. And Granger? Danielle exhaled. He'll find another job, but he'll never forget today. Marcus grinned. That's the real lesson. Danielle slid into her car, her phone vibrating. A message from Sierra Monroe, regional director. Corporate signed off on bias training. Employees from downtown reached out. They've been afraid to speak up about Granger for years. You didn't just expose him. You freed them. Danielle smiled softly. This was why she fought. Not for the takedowns. For the change. And this time, the change had just begun.